Thank you very much. A short time ago, the U.S. military carried out massive precision strikes on the three key nuclear facilities in the Iranian regime: Fordow, Natanz, and Esfahan.
Outside the Situation Room here at the Israeli Embassy in Washington, as we wind down toward the end of the first week of the war, three important points. You've seen on your television screens the smoke emerging from the Arak nuclear production site in Iran. It's important to understand why we hit this target. It's not yet in the production of enriched uranium, but we are indicating to the Iranians that we will not allow for the reconstitution of their nuclear program in the future. Second point, there's a lot of discussion about whether or not Iran is just an enemy of Israel or the rest of the world. Now, we've taken the position with the administration that whatever President Trump decides is his decision, and he will make the decision in the best interest of the United States, without a doubt. But we'd like to point out what Iranian ideology says about the United States. Ayatollah Khamenei stands in the center of Tehran, leading millions of people in a chant, "Death to America." And it's not just a chant. He's tried to assassinate President Trump twice. He's tried to assassinate former Secretary of State Pompeo. He's tried to assassinate former National Security Advisor John Bolton. And let's look at the record of attacks of the IRGC of Iran on Americans. Over 900 American citizens killed by Iranian forces over the past few decades. 1983, the embassy bombing in Beirut. Then, the Beirut barracks bombing. Then, 1984, U.S. Embassy Annex bombing in Beirut. 1996, the Khobar Tower bombing. 2000, the USS Cole bombing. 2003 to 2020, attacks by pro-Iranian militias against forces in Iraq. 2012-2013, Operation Ababil, cyber attacks against U.S. financial institutions, J.P. Morgan, Wells Fargo, Citibank, etc. 2016, the attack on the destroyer USS Mason. And on a positive note, after a week of war, Israel's economy is showing amazing resiliency. The stock market is up 8%. Just in comparison, after October 2023, it fell 10%. The shekel has strengthened 5%. This is the strongest day the shekel has shown since 1992. And the credit rating agencies have not downgraded Israel's credit rating despite the war. Like the people of Israel, our economy is showing great resiliency, and opportunities will emerge as we go into the future.
But we bring back Jennifer Griffin, who has new information from the Pentagon tonight. Jennifer, what are you hearing?
Well, Sean, those B-2 bombers that took part in the strike on Fordow, they are on their way back home. They are on their way back to Whiteman Air Force Base in Missouri. That's a round trip of about 30 hours, and they will be refueled along the way. In terms of bomb damage assessment, as Chad was discussing, there's no indication at this point that there needs to be a second wave of airstrikes. The initial bomb damage assessment, which was done immediately over Fordow, the president himself said in a tweet, in a Truth Social post, that Fordow is gone. What he meant by that is that the 6 30,000-pound bunker buster bombs that were dropped, most likely there were 3 bunker busters dropped in each of the 2 vents, I'm told, that are at Fordow. So there was a lot of focus on the entrance and the exit to the site, but in fact, I'm told what was much more important to look at were the vents. And there are 2 vents into Fordow, and if they dropped 3 bunker busters into those, they would have dropped them sequentially. The first 30,000-pound bomb would have cleared the way, would have gone down at least 200 feet, exploded, removed earth, and then the second and third would have gone in. And that is why I think the president said with confidence tonight that Fordow is gone. But I've also been speaking to other sources, Sean, who tell me that Isfahan, the underground enrichment site at Isfahan, was in fact a harder target than Fordow. A lot of talk about Fordow in recent days, but again, all part of this operation has been a great deal of deception. So all eyes on Fordow and the B-2 bombers, but at Isfahan, and Natanz, we understand, based on your conversation with the president, that 30 Tomahawk missiles were fired from those submarines, submarine or submarines. It's not clear whether one or more were used, but 30 Tomahawks targeted Isfahan and Natanz, and I'm told that Isfahan was in fact the hardest of the three sites. And in terms of what kind of submarine was used, I'm told from well-placed sources that it was likely a converted Ohio-class guided missile sub. So that would be like the USS Florida or USS Georgia, as Lucas first reported earlier this evening, Sean.
Let me ask you, Jennifer, if I may. I mean, obviously, this phase of this military operation has been a complete success, as you are describing. I am told that the Pentagon, the Defense Department, the President, everyone on his team have gamed out any and every possibility of any retaliation of the Iranians, and that part 2 of this mission is already in play, and that is to protect every American asset in the region. Have you heard the same?
Absolutely, Sean. These war plans have been honed for the last 20 years, and they are honed very frequently. And part of the most important part of this, the first night of strikes against Iran's nuclear program, were always going to be the easiest. They are technically very challenging in terms of the complicated refueling of these B-2s that fly all the way from the United States. But that is actually the easy part, as we have described, especially since the Israelis had helped with getting air superiority over with the last 10 days of bombing of those air defense systems in Iran. But now comes the hard part. Now comes the Iranian Revolutionary Guard Corps, which has, they have a navy that can essentially plant mines in the Strait of Hormuz. We heard there was an explosion earlier tonight at Bandar Abbas where an Iranian Navy vessel had been blown up. At first, they thought that it was the Israelis, but then the Israelis denied it was them. I would bet, Sean, that there are U.S. Navy SEALs and others right now preparing for a counterstrike. Certainly, the U.S. took many precautions. There is nobody at the American embassy in Iraq right now. All of the ships at the Fifth Fleet, based in Bahrain, have been moved out to sea. Sean.
All right, we really appreciate it. We'll come back to you, Jennifer Griffin, at the Pentagon tonight. We appreciate you being with us.